I don't understand why hoarding money isn't treated like any other hoarding disorder, right? So why is it that the insatiability of the super rich like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk is not considered abnormal? Why is it that we don't see that as something pathological? The need to hoard vast quantities of resources, more than they could spend in 10 or 100 lifetimes. The obsessive desire to accumulate wealth, especially in a way that harms the planet and deprives other people of basic necessities. Why is that not considered a mental illness? Why is that not stigmatized in the United States? Why is it not considered abnormal to become or desire to become super rich? In this country, we look to billionaires as some kind of aspirational figure, like we want to be like them. That's something that has permeated our society for so well. Okay, I think that we are moving away from that a little bit. The ways that the billionaires are currently right now squeezing us harder than ever before, I think is helping people gain a little bit more class consciousness, have a little bit more appropriate disgust when they see the super rich. But historically, we've been taught to believe like, oh, they've earned that, right? That's what the American dream is all about. Work really hard and you can become super rich. It's this American dream plus Protestant work ethic plus pull yourself up by your bootstraps plus this false expectation that if you work hard, the game is not rigged against you. All it requires is working hard and you can become rich and successful. There's nothing else that goes into it. That's a myth that really has been perpetuated heavily since before the founding of this country. Capitalism requires that we continue to believe that myth, that if we just work really hard, we too could become like Mark Zuckerberg. We too could become like Jeff Bezos. And that the reasons those guys are super rich is because they must be hardworking. It's not because there's other factors at play. It's definitely not because they're exploiting the planet, they're exploiting their workers, they're taking more than their fair share. It's not because that's dirty money. No, it's because they're hardworking, right? It's like that John Steinbeck quote, socialism never took root in America because the poor in this country see themselves not as an exploited proletariat, but as temporarily embarrassed millionaires, right? Right? We all think that we're just on the verge of being the next Peter Thiel. We're on the verge of being the next Elon Musk. We just got to work a little harder. We got to hit that grind a little bit harder. And we too could become super wealthy. So we don't have this concept of lagom, this concept of enough, this concept of there is a limit at which you have enough to live a comfortable life. And aspiring to beyond that is abnormal. It's a mental illness. As a permaculture person whose 3 ethics are earth care, people care, and fair share, I absolutely think that we should have a wealth cap. I am diametrically opposed to the concept of extreme wealth in the first place. I don't think there is any way to accumulate that quantity of resources without violating the ethics of earth care and people care. We have watched the Trump regime roll back so many environmental protections this year, making it easier for the super rich, for CEOs, for corporations to pollute, damage our health, and damage the planet. We've watched the regime try and strip back workers' rights. Trump made it harder for you to get overtime pay, by the way. But not only that, the Republicans and Donald Trump have made it significantly harder for any of us to improve our quality of life, to increase our education, to increase our earning potential. It's much harder to get student loans. There are student loan caps now, thanks to the Republicans. So it's only going to be the super wealthy that are able to get advanced degrees, like getting, your law degree or going to medical school or getting your PhD. They're trying to create a 2-tiered society, but even more than that, they have decided this past week that nursing is no longer a professional degree. Harder to get loans to go to nursing school. It's harder to get an education to improve your circumstances, to increase your earning potential. They are creating a 2-tiered society. The super rich up here, all of the rest of us down here, and they make our struggle so much more than it was previously because they don't want us aspiring to be what they are. They want to have free reign to exploit us and exploit the planet to amass huge quantities of wealth for them. Well, we can't get a degree in order to make enough to pay rent, in order to make enough to live a comfortable life. How fucked up is that? How maladaptive is that? I don't understand. Okay, check that. Billionaires, I think, do not see us as people, right? We are cogs in their machine. There's a reason that Elon Musk says that humanity's greatest weakness is empathy. Because there's something really wrong with these men. There's something really broken, really abnormal, really fucked up about these guys, that they are not troubled exploiting you and me, using our life hours, using our labor, making us suffer more so that they can hoard huge quantities of resources. That's not normal. That is abnormal. And for me, in particular, one of the things I find simultaneously horrifying and also baffling is the way that evangelicals in this culture have really embraced the pull yourself up by your bootstraps, the Protestant work ethic, this myth that you too could become super rich if you just work harder, and that if somebody is trapped in poverty, that's a moral failing. That's their own fault. They must be lazy, and that's why they're poor. It's really, really baffling to me to see that, right? When I was a Christian, for me, my faith absolutely melded perfectly with my permaculture ethics, and I didn't understand other Christians who didn't grasp the concept of fair share, who thought that it was acceptable for some people to live in extreme luxury while others were struggling to feed their families. After all, Jesus said it's easier for a camel to fit through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, and that if you want to follow Jesus, sell everything that you have, give everything away to the poor. I do understand that MAGA Christians are really a cult of power, grievance, and retribution, and that they worship a golden calf in Donald Trump. One of the things I've been saying all year is that people of faith need to be standing up. And we are seeing that, right? We're seeing that all around the country. But MAGA Christianity does not get to claim that they have God's position, that their beliefs are absolutely representative of Christianity in this country, because I think they're definitely not representative of Christianity around the world, and they bear little to no resemblance of the scriptures that they claim to follow. And in that spirit, I would like to read a piece that came out, more than 4 years ago now, from the Presbyterian Church, PCUSA. I was raised in a more conservative PCUSA church, and I did convert to a Presbyterian church in America before ultimately leaving the church altogether. But I appreciate much of the progressive positions of the PCUSA, including this piece entitled, "We Need to Consider Vast Wealth Accumulation as a Mental Illness." He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This also is vanity. Ecclesiastes 5:10. As our society and indeed our world struggles with a wide array of problems and challenges, from the climate crisis to the COVID-19 pandemic, from migration to war and political dysfunction, one daunting reality haunts our political and economic debates: the rise of the super wealthy. The gap between those with the most and those with the least is greater now than at any other time in modern history. It's much greater now than it was 4 years ago. And the pandemic has only made that problem worse. In America, fewer than 600 people control wealth equivalent to that held onto by the bottom half of the economic scale. It's worse than that now. The 600 wealthiest people in this country now have more wealth than half of the nation. While this problem has always existed in human society, we propose that such hoarding of riches be re-examined in modern times and be redefined as a mental illness. Unfortunately, the categories for mental illness have usually been used and focused upon those who struggle to succeed in society. With few exceptions, those who prosper are rarely labeled as mentally ill. Yet if their success causes immeasurable harm to society and others, perhaps we need to reconsider that bias. What if, rather than being seen as captains of industry, people who accumulated billions of dollars were understood to be seriously ill individuals? We go on to question why it is that the DSM-5 definition of hoarding disorder does not extend to the super rich. We usually define someone with this disorder as non-functional and define hoarding in terms of personal clutter. But as Isaiah recognized millennia ago, accumulation that prevents others from functioning is a social disease affecting the entire body of society. When one has so much that others cannot eat, as in the case with, for example, the Walton family, the owners of Walmart, who have billions of dollars while their workers go to food banks because they do not receive a living wage, then your possessions have congested the social space such that life becomes impossible. The massive overaccumulation by a few is causing planetary clutter, while millions do not have their basic needs met. Recognizing such overaccumulation as illness would realign our social thinking regarding such behavior and would encourage policy to address and limit the damage caused by these very disturbed individuals. It would also give us a way forward as we seek to solve the problems caused by this behavior. What do you think of that? Do you think that the super rich should be classified as mentally ill? Do you think it's a disorder to hoard massive amounts of money? while most Americans struggle to get their basic needs met.